Coming up on this episode of Nintendo Cartridge Society, it's the wows and whiffs of Switch 2's first 100 days. When you jump, press downward to stab, so the Nintendo Cartridge Society stabs with you. Welcome to Nintendo Cartridge Society. My name is Patrick Ellers, and I'm joined, as I'm always joined, by my co-host, Mark Mitchell. Mark, how's it going?
It's going great. I think I've talked about before on the show how my husband and I primarily communicate in sending cat videos back and forth to each other.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm the type of person. I feel like there are two types of people in the world.
Sure.
There are the types of people.
And you're the type of guy.
I'm the type of guy
uh-huh.
who you send me a reel on Instagram.
Right.
I'm going to watch that reel and then react to it. I'm going to double tap for a heart.
Yeah.
Or I'm going to choose a crying, laughing face if that's how I feel after watching the video.
Right. Only if you are literally laughing so hard that you're crying.
Exactly.
Right. Okay.
Exactly.
Yes. My
My husband, on the other hand, doesn't necessarily even watch what I send him.
Sure.
This
is the camp I fall into.
Yes.
In that I'm not good at Instagram. I don't do it. But people in my life will still send me things, and every now and then I will open up Instagram and see that I've got a bunch of messages, and I just at that point I'm not going to go back and like things or whatever.
Well, the thing is, he is on Instagram.
So he is doing it.
No, he's on Instagram,
right?
Because he's sending me videos.
Gotcha.
But he doesn't necessarily look at the ones that I send him. And look, life is a rich tapestry.
Sure.
And
what do we even know each other at all?
I support it. Two halves have to make a whole.
Yes,
it's
right.
okay.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is,
okay,
I'm sending some high quality stuff that I know that he would like. And so I've had to start getting creative in ways to get it in front of him. Because it's just it's like email spam or something,
Right.
He's just not,
washes.
He just doesn't
well,
pay attention to it.
He does have you blocked, right?
He just doesn't pay attention to it.
Right.
So I've taken to, if it's a photo, printing out the photo and putting it under his pillow.
No, you do not.
I message
this is a lie.
I will text text message him.
Right.
Especially good videos.
Uh-huh.
Because I know he's going to like them when he sees them.
Right.
If I get them in front of him, he's going to laugh so hard
that he'll start crying.
The tears are running down his face.
As you put these printed out photos under his pillow, a thing that I'll believe that you actually do, he then goes to bed.
And he's like, oh, there's...
And you walk into the bedroom, you find him weeping. Because he's been laughing
Look,
so hard.
Everybody's relationship is different.
It is. It's true. Sarah and I have been passing around a picture of a mole for...
the animal or...
The animal,
okay.
yes. It's this picture of a mole that we've been sending back and forth to each other for a while. And I don't really remember why. It doesn't signify anything in particular, just it's time to send the mole.
It's cute.
I agree. I'll post it in the Discord. Speaking of, things are happening out of order now, Mark, but if people would like to be in our Discord and talk about stuff that's going on in the world of Nintendo, they can. It's very easy. All you gotta do is email us at nintendocartridgesociety@gmail.com, and we will send you an invitation. You can hang out there. You can see this picture of the mole. It'll be in there somewhere. So you can do that. Also, if you would like to support us with money, you can do so at patreon.com/Nintendo Cartridge Society, where if you're supporting us at the 8-bit level or the 16-bit level, you get access to our mini-series like NCS at the movies.
Yeah, where Patrick and I, and sometimes a special guest, are going to see movies together and then talking about them. It's been a lot of fun. You also have access to past miniseries, like NCS Detective Club, NCS Goes Broadway, and NCS Arcade. We did 3 seasons of NCS Arcade where we were playing video games that we had never beaten before. It's all good stuff. It's all on the Patreon.
I'm gonna just put you on the spot right now, Mark, just because I was thinking about it. With Virtual Boy coming to NSO,
yeah.
Do we need to revive NCS Arcade and do Virtual Boy
I'll,
games.
I'll tell you, my personal feeling is that we should reserve it for the main feed, and it should
That's
be
a
like
great point.
a
That's a
month
great
or
point.
something.
Right.
Yeah,
A Virtual Boy month.
Yes.
Maybe several. Maybe it's a Virtual Boy year. We don't know.
The year of Virtual Boy. Let us celebrate the system that is never celebrated.
Yes. And like we've never done that before. But you can check all that out. Then there's some stuff available for free over there too. So follow us at the free level, and there's content there as well. All right, Mark, we've now had the Switch 2 for over 100 days. Let's talk about how it's been. So the system itself has been in our lives for 100 days, right? We've obviously known about it for a little bit, like actually known about what it was for a little bit longer.
Yep.
And we're doing our wows and whiffs format, right? Where we have 3 wows each and 3 whiffs each. Just looking at the Switch 2 to this very early point in its life cycle as a whole, and being like, what has worked, what hasn't worked. But I don't know about you, but for me, a lot of what this time period has been involves a lot of stuff casting into the future, right? And also like incorporating some of the like announcement stuff from before the system was actually released.
Sure, yeah.
So like in my I've prepared a couple wows and whiffs, and some of them may have more to do with like what I see, or like their current messaging about the future, or their messaging about the present from the past, you know?
Yep.
But just overall, I'd like how do you feel like it is going? So before we get into like our specific nitpicks or thumbs up, how do you feel it's going so far?
Yeah, I feel like this last Nintendo Direct did a lot for me. Look, I never really doubted that Nintendo would have a strong library of games.
Yeah.
But I think like the end of this year and the beginning of next year is more like jam-packed than I expected it to be.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with that, but I think we just have to acknowledge that it came at such a high price for how empty the beginning of this year was for Switch
for sure.
1. Like, they released 2 games before Switch 2, like all year. Both were re-releases, right? So like, yeah, it's they were holding a lot of stuff, seems like.
Yeah, definitely. And I feel like the reports from last year when the Switch 2 was like delayed, quote unquote, was because of software, right? Trying to get like software lined up. So it makes sense. But I feel like before this last Nintendo Direct, there was a lot riding on faith, where it's like, yeah, Nintendo's gonna have software for this thing.
Yeah.
Like for sure. And maybe logically there was no reason to think that they wouldn't. But, deep down inside every Nintendo fan, there's a fear that what we just bought is the next Wii U. You know what I mean? That something has gone terribly wrong inside Nintendo, and they just don't have the software for one reason or another.
Right. Well, and like, that I almost put those in like 2 separate fear buckets, right? One fear bucket is that they're going to like repeat a mistake that they've made before, like as you say, the Wii U. Where it's just like, because there are still also like, on balance, I think the Wii U library is like kind of fun. I played a lot of great games on the Wii U, but it's just like kind of a commercial failure and like isn't what it should have been, right? So like that's one fear, and then the other is like, what if they just lose it, right? Like, there is some degree to which I look at Nintendo games, like the ones that really work and are special, as like magic in some way. I don't know how you make Donkey Kong Bonanza. I don't know how you make Tears of the Kingdom. I don't know how you make Pikmin 4. And like, seemingly no one else knows how to do that either. Nintendo does, or they do right now.
Right. Yeah, I do know
like,
what you mean.
Could that go away? Like, yeah, I don't know. Maybe,
Yeah.
So yes, I held both of those fears, and I think the latter fear, that like they've lost their fastball completely, is not. I think we can remove that one from the board. And then I think this isn't a Wii U situation. I think the Switch 2 is in pretty firm ground. It's successful, like commercially, if nothing else.
Yeah, so far, yes. If it seems like if the Switch 2 ends up failing, it'll be for entirely different reasons than the Wii U.
Well, and so maybe we should start to get into our wows and whiffs now, because I feel like we're teetering pretty close into some of them. Mark, would you like to go first with a wow?
Yeah, how are we gonna do this? A compliment sandwich, like a wow, a whiff, a wow, a whiff,
I think
a wow.
A wow, a whiff, a wow. A whiff. I say you give us a wow. I think the last time we did this, we got totally off track too. So why don't you give us a wow,
okay,
and then a whiff, and then I'll go a whiff and then a wow.
Okay.
I don't know.
No, that sounds great. Okay. No. That sounds perfectly good.
Or do you want to go all through wows and then all through whiffs?
I feel like if we're gonna do one or the other, we should start with whiffs and end on wows. But I think let's mix it up.
Let's do this. Let's each of us do a wow.
Okay.
And then we'll go through our whiffs.
Oh, and then we'll
end on
two more wows.
Two more wows. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, yeah.
Just so we get like, we can start on like a positive note. And then move into like our real complaints.
Yeah, whiff it up.
Yeah. And if at any point we're like, we need to change how we're doing this, I say we just do it.
Yeah.
But you shall start with a wow.
Okay. My first wow is the Switch 2 hardware itself.
Yes.
Like the build quality down to the dock, like all of it feels so much more premium than any versions of the Switch 2 of the original Switch ever did. And
even down to like the screen and stuff, like you can compare it to the OLED, which I know the Switch 2 is not an OLED screen, but it does feel as like bright and sharp as one.
And I feel like by this time in the original Switch's life, there were problems cropping up, like with the dock, where people were finding that it was like scratching the sides of the screen. And my original Switch has that problem. Like it has smudges where from putting it like in and out of the dock. And I feel like at this point,
and from your sticky fingers,
and from my sticky fingers,
sticky candy fingers, right?
And I feel like at this point, we haven't seen like widespread issues to that degree.
Mm-hmm.
Not saying that the rollout's been perfect or that problems won't reveal themselves in the future, but as of now, as of 100 days in, I feel like the build quality is really strong. And honestly, Nintendo Switch 2 Welcome Tour has been...
So don't step on my wow.
Okay, but I just want to say that that playing... Well, actually, I'll wait until you possibly talk about it.
It'll be the next thing I talk about.
And then I'll say whatever I wanted to say about it at that point. But yeah, like, I think the Nintendo Switch 2 hardware, the thought put into it, the magnetic connections,
those
of the
magnets,
Joy-Con,
man,
like,
it is every time I interact with them and like take the Joy-Con 2 off of like the grip or the system itself, I'm amazed by how like fluid and easy it is and how strong they are.
Yeah, it just feels like a very premium piece of kit.
So obviously I'm just my wow is related to this in that it is the Nintendo Switch 2 Welcome Tour, which is such a strange piece of software and is the kind of thing that only Nintendo would do. And we can complain about we can debate the cost if we want, but at like, $10, it's like the price here is like a formality, right? They want to charge you something for it, so they did. But I think there's value in how strange it is, and B, it's kind of cool that Nintendo was like, hey, turns out we're proud of the machine that we made, and we want you to know everything that's cool about it. And what's cool about it is like takes hours and hours to explain and to like demonstrate exactly how powerful it is, how like graphically impressive it is, the various things that it's doing that you kind of take for granted all the time. It's not my favorite game that came out on the Switch 2. Wasn't even my favorite game that came out that day. But is just such a unique piece of software and like really is really Nintendo letting them celebrate something new,
Yeah, and I feel like the piece that I enjoy about playing Welcome Tour that is the quizzes. The actual like reading the different things and then taking the quiz, that part doesn't like really excite me. But I think the information that is in the parts that you read before taking the quiz is so interesting, and like you said, gives them an opportunity to go into the minutia of the
Yes.
like engineering and the care and thought that was put into the design of the Switch 2, things that I never would notice ever. Like in the dock, they have set it up so that way like you can't put it in misaligned.
Sure.
You know, and there and it's that's and then they go into like the detail of like the bumpers and a little like thing that pokes out and make sure is that like when you're sliding it in, it either slides in correctly or it won't let you because this little piece of you know like rubber or plastic or whatever is protruding. I would never even like consider that before, but then to see like clearly this was probably like tested multiple ways until they found like the way that like worked perfectly. And I feel like it's a team at Nintendo that doesn't get celebrated that often. It's mostly like software that gets the spotlight. And yeah.
Well, it's so interesting to think that like, probably all of the video game hardware that's like out there right now is designed within an inch of its life and like has features that are really well thought out, and all of that kind of stuff to like maximize like the user's end experience of the thing, and for the most part we're just like, okay, great, how do I get it to play Fortnite, and it's so Nintendo to be like, no, 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 this thing is a garden and we're gonna walk you through the garden and like tell you, how tricky it was to trim this bonsai this way. And like it like celebrates a mindfulness about the thing that you would otherwise just be like, yeah, I want to play Mario
You just take
Kart.
it for granted.
Exactly. And it's just I can't think of I mean, like the only other thing that to me comes close was the Astro's Playroom that was like bundled in with the PlayStation 5, because it included a lot of like the new features of the PlayStation 5 as like sort of background for Astro running around and like doing all this like platforming challenges kind of stuff. But like the priority in Nintendo Switch 2 Welcome Tour is show you about the thing and not like do something else well all of that stuff is going on in the background. I just don't think there's anything really like it.
Yeah.
Okay. Now do we get negative?
I guess so.
I guess we're gonna go to some whiffs now.
Uh-huh.
I have 4 of these written down.
Okay, I have 3.
Okay. I feel like some of mine may end up being like duplicate though.
Okay.
Just so why don't you start us off with a whiff?
Okay. I think it's disappointing that the Switch 2 so far, in my experience anyways, is lacking like a Snipper Clips-esque experience. And Snipper Clips, we talk about it fairly often on the show, but I think generally speaking, it came out and people played it and enjoyed it, but as the Switch's library filled out, it wasn't necessarily something that Nintendo continued to promote or that people were going back to or anything.
Yeah.
But I feel like it was such a perfect, simple multiplayer experience that showed off the features of the Switch that
in like a small way,
in a
right?
small way,
it's just
yeah,
a small game experience, cheap.
And I feel like maybe the closest that Switch 2 has is Dragon Drive.
Sure, it's hard to consider Dragon Drive like kind of much of anything. I have not heard anyone mention the game since it came out.
Right.
Yeah. And you were gone for 3 weeks right after it released, so you and I didn't have an opportunity to like talk about it. But like, I didn't buy it.
Yeah, I did buy it because I liked I had fun in the demo, but I didn't bring my Switch 2 with me when I was out, and so I haven't played it. But yeah, like I don't know. I just feel like there is a gap there that Nintendo is usually good in filling in their launches, but you had Drag and Drive a little bit later. Welcome Tour is there. It includes mini games, but just isn't the right presentation for what I was looking for.
Yeah, I mean, Nipperclips was just so effortlessly social. Like, even if you were somehow playing it by yourself and you had a roommate or a significant other in the room with you, they would be yelling and pointing at the screen, right?
Yeah, like my husband played it with me, and he doesn't play video games
Right,
at all.
right.
And yeah, I don't know. I have just felt kind of like there's a hole in the Switch 2's launch lineup for something like that.
Yeah, well, and it's that was obviously like an indie studio that was working on, and Nintendo funded it, right, or published it or whatever. Um, and it just seems like they're not necessarily fostering the same sort of relationship with indies. Obviously, the indie lineup on Switch 2 is strong here at the beginning of the life cycle, but nothing that they're publishing. All right, my first whiff, Mark, goes like this. All of the Nintendo Switch 2 editions that include plus something.
This is also on my whiff list.
Yes. I think I feel comfortable saying Jamboree TV sucks. Like, is just actively bad. And Star-Crossed World is kind of uninspired.
Here's what's so interesting is that I completely agree with you. But they are fairly well reviewed online. Like conversely, when I was looking up like what the Open Critic scores were for Jamboree TV and Star-Crossed World, I also started looking at reviews for the Donkey Kong Bonanza DLC.
Yeah.
Like DK Island and Emerald Rush.
Yes.
And the general consensus on that is like the opposite of yours and I as well.
I think like the critical community needs a minute to like find their bearing on Emerald Rush. Because like I don't see how it's anything but a ton of fun.
I think the complaints, and we will I think probably talk about this a little bit more, but the complaints seem to center around price.
Sure.
Where people are, which is so surprising to me. Look, I haven't played Jamboree TV, but you have it, right?
Yes.
And
I have all three of these things that we're talking about right now.
Right. And so it's just like, I don't know. I agree with you completely. I just think it's interesting that our opinions don't necessarily align with like the broader consensus.
Right. Well, I do think some of that comes from just on the subject of Emerald Rush and DK Island. That like people just bought that game, and most of the people who are treating Star-Crossed Worlds or Jamboree TV as DLC bought those original games years ago, or a year ago, and so like it's not quite the same thing. Also, I guess paid $60 for them in the first place instead of $70, but like I don't, for me. First of all, I think Emerald Rush is worth $20. I think it just is. But then on top of that, like that's not really how unless it seems like a totally like mismatch of like, I mean, I don't know. I buy the Fire Emblem DLC, so like I spend $20 on like 3 extra costumes and like one extra battle map or something. So maybe I'm all messed up in that regard.
But all this said, I agree with you. I think the plus editions, like the Switch 2 editions that include the plus content, have been busts.
I agree, and like it makes me like further. That's the turning a Mario Party game into an $80 game is just a mistake. Like that's just like that's a sin. Don't do it. And then the fact that it's like a collection of camera and mouse based mini games is like pretty disappointing and not very well integrated with the like original version of the game. Just feels like a bummer. So yeah, that's that. So I guess that was also one of your whiffs.
Yes, but I have like a corollary for another like one of my whiffs.
Okay,
that around that, and I think it's that Nintendo. I don't really know how to phrase this, but I think Nintendo has a pricing / value perception problem.
Sure.
Because like whether something is worth the price or not. Like, I have really loved Emerald Rush in a way that I wasn't expecting to. And I think on Tuesday when you were talking about it, like the Splatoon 3 DLC where it
Yeah.
had, like Inkopolis.
Yep.
And there was just kind of empty, didn't have any new content necessarily, and then they added side order to it. I feel like DK Island is a very similar thing where by itself it doesn't really have much going on. There are a few like gold levels you can go to and like that sort of thing, but there's no fossils or stuff for you to get.
Right. That like DK Island is not actually a thing for you to do outside of Emerald Rush.
And I also understand that right now is a really kind of like turbulent economic time, and so some of this is out of maybe their control a little bit, but I do think that they have a real, it's almost like value perception problem. Like, I don't think they're doing a very good job of selling the value of the things that they are like asking people to buy,
right. Well, especially in terms of software, because you and I discussed this on Tuesday, and like a lot of this is, the Donkey Kong DLC, that's digital content. Like, you're selling just something digital there. You're not gonna, right? That's not that's immune from any sort of tariffing or whatever. So yeah, it is interesting that, like, generally speaking, they're not doing a great job of either matching the price to the content or selling the content as being worth that price in the first place.
Yeah, because like, think about Super Mario Galaxy 1+2.
Yeah.
Why is this a $70 game? I think that you could sell people on the fact that it deserves to be $70, but when that's the second Switch title ever to be $70, it's like, is it Tears of the Kingdom sized? You know what I mean? Like, and maybe it is. Maybe the argument is there, but I don't think they're doing a very good job. And I think that,
well, especially when like the like thing that is the like obvious comparison point, not, we're talking about games separated by like 30 years, but like the original Super Mario All-Stars was always kind of a budget title, right?
Right.
Like they would sell that for like 40 or 50 bucks in a time when Super NES games would go as high as like $80 or $90 in the US. And just that was never that expensive of a game. And eventually they also just like threw Super Mario World in there as well, right? And like for this to be another collection of Mario games that are old, that they have, like beefed up a little bit from their original presentation, to be a premium Switch 1 title feels crazy.
And, in the past, Nintendo had outlets for discounting their games, like Nintendo Selects and that sort of thing.
Right.
And they've moved.
And even more recently with gold points or the voucher program. And those don't exist anymore either.
Yes. And so it's just, I feel like, not a very good look. And it's difficult to know, is this a problem outside of like the internet fan circles? I don't know.
Yeah. Great question. Yeah.
But I think they have a messaging problem. I think they have a real messaging problem around price because, and look, I don't expect them to publish PowerPoints with like pro con lists saying this is why we're pricing this thing.
It should really be inside Nintendo Switch 2 welcome to it.
Like why they decide to price something that way is their business, but I think that they are falling down on the job of selling people on the value of what they're asking for it.
Yeah, but I also think sometimes they are not actually delivering the value. Like I guess Starcross Worlds is worth $20, whatever that means.
I feel like for me, the only way that I would consider it worth it,
yeah,
is if you think about it as $10 for a Forgotten Land, like a performance upgrade, like you would pay for Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom, and then an additional $10 for Starcross
remix levels.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess if you could like break it down in such granularity, then that's fine. They feel like the sort of like quintessential like stopgap solutions of like, we don't have that much software for the launch of the Switch 2, but what we do have is DLC that like had been like tinkering around with for these things, and like we can make them as part of like the definitive Switch 2 versions of these things.
Yeah, and I mean, like worth, like you said, is totally relative.
Totally subjective, yeah.
But I just think they have a messaging problem.
Yeah, I think that's probably right. Although, like, I do wonder if there's anything that fixes that messaging problem, because, my first WoW here is Nintendo Switch 2 Welcome Tour, which is, again, like, not a spectacular game or whatever, but people couldn't stomach it being $10, which, like, I get that you want things for free. Free is more fun than $10. But, like, it's $10.
No, it's true. I think that
And people lost their minds.
Right. Yeah, like I think there's no pleasing some people.
Yeah.
Right? The internet outrage machine is always going to churn forward. But that's where I wonder, is this sort of like is this the perception of people outside of that? Of the casual,
Great question.
like person who's looking to pick this up for their kids for Christmas. It's a steep ask to get into the Nintendo ecosystem right now.
Sure. But or even just people who, cuz I think the vast majority of people who play Nintendo stuff, don't tune into the new Direct, don't know, like, are not on message boards learning about, like, they will see an ad for Metroid Prime 4 and be like, oh, cool, they made another one of those. I'll get a Switch 2 so I can
absolutely.
play that. Like, I think that is the normal consumer diet. And yeah, we're probably too plugged into the immediate reactions of the craziest people on the internet. That said, can I do kind of a related whiff?
Yes, please.
I know it's not their fault. I know it's not Nintendo's fault. And things are subject to tariffs in the US. But every single accessory for the Switch 2 is too expensive. And this is sort of tied into one of my WoWs, but I've got enough WoWs that I'm just going to fold it in here. They kind of doubled down on like Amiibo. They're like doing Amiibo again, but they're crazy expensive. Partially because of these tariffs, partially because they're bigger, right? Like there's kind of no reason the Galaxy Amiibo need to be as large as they are. But it does mean that they're also more expensive. So, and then like the GameCube controller, that was an expensive thing. The Virtual Boy, cool, I'm going to get it. I'm excited to get it. It's $100.
Yeah, no, I think all of this is related.
Yes.
And I think it's the biggest cloud hanging over Nintendo at the moment is just kind of like cost.
Yes.
The cost to be in the Nintendo ecosystem, even if it's worth it, even if I'm excited, I'm a freak. I'm excited to pay $100. Well, I'm not excited to pay $100, but I'm excited to get the Virtual Boy thing. And so I'm willing to pay the $100.
Yes. And I'm not even really thinking about it. I'm just like, oh, yes, obviously. I need to do that.
But, like, it's an expensive proposition to be a Nintendo fan.
Mm-hmm.
And that's always been the case. It's always been a commercial relationship where Nintendo's trying to extract as much money as they possibly can from consumers.
It's a business.
That's 100% true. But right now, we feel like we're kind of like in the thick of it, and it's kind of hard to see how it could be worse than it is right now.
And I think part of that is that we are in the launch year, right? So like, if the Virtual Boy and like a slew of, I've mentioned this, but when the Amiibos went up for pre-order from the most recent Direct, I pre-ordered all of them, and I spent $300 pre-ordering Amiibo. That's a lot of money. And I don't know if I'm going to keep all those pre-orders. But, like, that's happening in the same year that I also bought a Switch 2 and an extra set of Joy-Cons and, like, a handful of games at, like, you can space those things out. You can space out those, like, high-cost experiences. But the fact that all of this, and, like, you put the Virtual Boy in there, too, and it's, like, all within one calendar year, it just seems like hitting not at the right time,
There was an article or kind of like I think it was an opinion piece, but it was like a researched article in the Wall Street Journal a few weeks ago that was about the cost of a like Walt Disney World vacation.
Sure.
And it talks about how also just like in the United States in general, families that make over $100,000 are spending more on vacations than ever, whereas like the rest of the country is spending less on vacations. And so more and more theme park companies, Disney, Universal, everybody, is aiming their offerings at those like high income earners. And what it's doing is pushing out like the middle class from what's left of it from being able to experience these things. And so you have to think about like the long-term ramifications for a company like Disney, who has built so much of its legacy on like everybody being able to experience this, have this shared social like experience of that a lot of people have been able to go to like Disney World.
Yeah, sure.
You know, like have that once in a lifetime trip, and that's like
that it still feels aspirational, but that it is attainable.
Yes, it's attainable, and it's a shared like social experience. And what long-term damage is Disney doing by pricing out 90% of the population?
Right.
I think Nintendo has to ask themselves a similar question. And again, they're in a tough spot, like you said, with tariffs and just like kind of the turbulent economic times. But 40-year-olds who have nostalgia for the Virtual Boy are not going to be around forever.
Right. We'll become 50-year-olds with nostalgia for the Virtual Boy. It does seem like a problem. We did get into a little bit of a conversation in the Discord today about like genuinely like and sincerely adjusted for inflation, like how much more expensive is it to be playing games now than it was back in the day. And like it's a valid point, and like inflation like really does make, and you know, I mentioned it earlier, you would see Super NES cartridges selling for like $80 new, right? I think Mortal Kombat 3 was like a $90 game. Mortal Kombat 3, right? Much smaller games that are of cost way less to develop, and cost way more, and then adjusted for inflation would be way more expensive than what we're buying games for now. That's all true and real. But I think there was just less of it. Like there's maybe just a culture of like, you don't try to buy everything. You don't try to like stay on top of every game. Like I had the thought earlier today, Mario Galaxy comes out on it's
October 2nd.
October 2nd. The same day of as Ghost of Yotai. And I was like, oh, that's going to be an expensive video game day for me. And like, why am I buying both these games at the same? Why am I doing that? Because I just feel like compelled to like play both of these games,
right?
And so I'll buy them both when they come. So like some of it is just like an overall consumerism problem.
No, I mean you're right, because there is definitely a difference between a hobbyist, which we are, where we're like, yeah, we're just gonna buy everything, and like you said, regular consumers,
right,
who will see a commercial for Mario Galaxy 1 and 2 and be like, oh cool, I remember playing that when I was a kid, and now I want to share that experience with like my family.
Can I tell you how many people have texted me about the Super Mario Brothers Wonder talking flower toy and have been like, are you going to buy this?
Does that hurt you?
It does a little bit, and I see why people think that. And maybe I'll end up doing it. I don't know. But it's just it's a little bit of a wake-up call.
Yeah.
By the way, Patrick, people view you as a Nintendo consumer monster. So great.
I mean, you did promise to buy everything that they put out in a year.
But that was like a stunt. That was a thing I was doing. And it was a year and a half ago.
The evil Knievel of Nintendo consumerism.
Yeah, it's like Jackass over here.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe we're done talking about pricing stuff for a little while.
Well,
okay, go ahead. What's your next?
I have a this isn't a whiff. It's a whoa.
Oh, whoa.
Yeah, I have wows, whiffs, and I have one whoa.
Mark is springing this on me. I did not know that we were allowing woes.
My whoa.
I feel like whoa could go either way.
And it's whoa, not like a WOE. It's like whoa.
Yeah.
It's the Switch 1 price increase in the US and Canada.
Right.
You know, like the Switch from $299 to $339, the OLED from $349 to $399. I mean, at that point, Nintendo's just telling you, buy a Switch 2. That's clearly what they want you to do. For
Right.
like $50 more, just buy a Switch 2.
But it also means that they are like holding that price down in a way that, first of all, I don't know how long they can do that.
Yeah.
But they just really need to migrate people over to the new platform if they're going to make it worth it for anyone to develop for it.
But it
themselves included.
No, for sure. Like it is of like a primary importance to Nintendo to get as many people on a Switch 2 as fast as they can.
Yes.
But the reason it's a whoa is just like, what a crazy time we're living in that this almost decade-old system, instead of dropping in price when the new one comes out, like goes up in price. It just shows you that everything is just totally upside down right now. None of it makes sense.
Yeah. Yep. Pricing is just out of control. I love the introduction of the whoa. I think that's so cool. Now is it like a Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, like whoa, or is it like you're trying to slow a horse?
Yeah, I think the nice thing about whoa,
you can read it many different
ways.
It
can be reread many different ways. Yeah.
That's interesting and fascinating, and I wish you told me about it before, because then I would have come up with one. I mean, this is my woe. No, here's a whiff. And this one stretches back to, I think, a little bit before the Switch 2 was like fully detailed. But virtual game cards. And as an extension / like related issue, game key cards. So virtual game cards, remember when they were originally revealed during this direct, and they were like, we've noticed that there's like this problem where like if you own a game digitally and like you can't I
like share it. You can't share it.
You can't share it, right?
Lend it to your friend.
And they were like, here's what we came up with for that solution. And the solution feels like just different problems. And like, sure, you can lend it to someone, but it has to be someone in your Switch family program, right? Like,
I actually can't remember.
I don't think I can lend a virtual card game to you, Mark. And it has led to a lot of like, families that had like one copy of a game, and they were all on the same account, and then could like play multiplayer games together, and now you just had to buy the game 3 times or whatever. And it just seems like they saw a problem, and I just remembered like the tone of them being like, here's what we came up with. And it's like, oh, you didn't do it right. Your solution is bad. And also, for someone who doesn't do any of that, it's just like one more step where it's like loading game card. And I'm like,
I know. I wonder if we can turn that off, because you can turn off virtual game cards, or at least you could at some point. Because I agree that it is just a simple step to say like, do you want to put this on your system? And you have to,
and
like,
I'm like, I did.
I thought I did. Yeah.
Right. And like, then I had to like push the button, and then it shows me like a little animation of like my fake game card going into my Switch. And I'm like, why did that happen?
No, I think you're totally right. And game key cards, same sort of thing, where it's like they saw a problem.
This is how they're related.
They were trying to solve it. But I think the issue that they're running into is that no solution will ever be without like compromises, because games have gotten so big.
Yes.
They're not using optical discs.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so, and like, they are incentivized to get people to buy things digitally. And so it's just like this confluence of problems, and I don't know if there is a good solution for it. I think the best solution for it was widespread physical media, and we just don't live in that world anymore.
Well, and it's so interesting because like, video game companies have been like moving to, it behooves them to sell things digitally, right?
Yeah,
it is simply cheaper for them, especially when Nintendo is selling something on their platform that they publish. They sell, Super Mario Party Jamboree plus Jamboree TV. That's $80 that just they get. They don't need to ship any physical thing anywhere. And like, I think then that they I really don't know. Like, I'm sort of like, they should be way more flexible about letting you lend out digital stuff, or just not think about it. and be like, if people want to lend out games, they can buy them physically. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This solution doesn't seem like a solution.
Yeah. No, I think you're right. I think in some ways maybe a noble attempt if we give them the benefit of the doubt that they were
Right.
like really doing it for altruistic reasons. But I think fair to say a whiff, and hopefully they go back to the drawing board
Yeah.
and like take another stab at it.
Yeah. Are you out of whiffs at this point?
I'm out of whiffs and I'm out of woes.
Okay, well, great. I'm also out of woes. No, this will be my woe, actually.
Okay.
And this may be a WOE.
Okay.
Um,
Worse than a whiff.
let's talk about it. Was there a little bit of a bait and switch regarding the Mario Kart World free roam multiplayer?
I don't remember.
So, in the original like trailers for not like the teaser in whenever that was, February or whatever. Whenever it was, doesn't matter. But during the actual event when we like got to see Mario Kart World, they were like and like showing off a game chat, and they were like, "Oh, you're seeing your friends like exploring some part of the map and being like, "Oh yeah, it's over there. Oh, this is so cute. You can whatever." Um and they said that like you could explore the free roam mode together. And like technically you sorta can if you set up a online like room to do other game modes, and you
Oh.
can explore the free roam area with like your friends in the same like waiting room, but a lot of the features are turned off. You can't do the P switches, and no there's no just like mode where you're like free roam with friends.
Oh, interesting. I totally forgot about that.
Um and like having a large open world for like people to hang out in together while playing a game style of their like that's Fortnite. I'm describing Fortnite, right? And like that I feel like was part of, I don't know if that's what they promised, but like that was sort of the implication of like, here's a big open world that you can explore with your friends, and that is simply not what the game delivers.
Yeah.
And I feel like there are many sins of the free roam mode, which I generally like. But one of the ways in which it like doesn't really deliver on a multiplayer free roam mode is that like there's no easy way to do that.
It would be really fun if you were able to, because I understand, like the P switches and that sort of thing are not really designed for multiple people to attempt at a time. But you
I'm
could
sort of
have,
like, who cares though?
well, and you also could have like a set of P switches that are
Sure,
group experiences.
sure, totally, yeah.
Yeah, it almost seems free roam seems perfect for I'm gonna hang out with my friend in this, and we're just gonna like drive around, and
Right.
yeah,
And
yeah,
like listen to the same music, like if there was a jukebox in the game or something.
uh-huh.
It just I have a hard time shaking the feeling now a couple months into it that like the free roam is missing the features that it feels like it's missing, right? Not just that like it does feel like a creative choice to me, and I stand by the idea that like they genuinely want you to explore it and not to find everything in it. But like it just feels like it's not all there, you know?
I sometimes one of the things I struggle with is like I feel like with with Pokemon, it's really easy for me to point at the series and say like they're not doing this because it's not for like me, it's for a younger audience.
Yeah.
And so that's why they're making the choices they make. And I'm not sure if I have that same blindness for something like
Mario Kart.
like Mario Kart World, where it's like, yes, but they did not design it with me in mind. They designed it with like me when I was 30 years ago in mind, when I would have just loved being able to. I think basically what I'm saying is us not being exposed to children's like children,
yes,
and their experiences with these. Like
great for kids.
I think some. I think like some. Yeah. I think sometimes like that is the perspective that I think we miss.
Sure.
And that's fine because we can only talk about our own, like experiences with the games.
Yes.
But I do wonder if you said, it is a conscious choice, and for us, it rubs the wrong way but it was not. It was a decision that was made not for us.
Then why is it priced for us? Because it is priced for 40-year-olds who are mega fans of Nintendo.
Yeah.
It's, and I think that that's the, and look, again, I just want to go back to, like, I like Mario Kart World. I like the free roam mode probably more than most other people I talk to about it. But like, feels like it's missing some very basic things that would make that experience different for me and wouldn't change the experience for a kid.
Yeah.
Okay. Should we move on to WoWs?
Yeah. All right. Okay.
All right. We can get positive. Like,
yeah,
shake it out.
Shake it off. Shake it off.
Whew. Do you want to go or should I?
Go ahead.
Hey, I already mentioned as a whiff the Nintendo Switch 2 editions that add something. But as a WoW, Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom getting massive performance boosts in their Nintendo Switch 2 versions for $10 additional and making them feel like fresh, new, awesome gaming experiences with Zelda Note support. It's amazing.
I think it's so telling that when I bought my Switch 2, one of the first things I wanted to do was turn on Breath of the Wild and just see what the experience would be on the new system.
And it's incredible. Like, I didn't finish Breath of the Wild before Bonanza came out, and therefore I've also not gone back to it. But man, I probably put another like 30 hours into that game and just like really, really loved it. Like I cannot speak highly enough, and it's part of it is just like, well, yeah, you take one of the greatest games of all time.
Yeah, what a masterpiece.
You dress it up.
Yeah.
But like it really does show how great that game is.
Well, one of my wows is the not paid upgrades.
Yes.
That so many Nintendo Switch games are getting. Like, for example, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet.
Yep.
Games that were notoriously clunky on the Switch, but otherwise people really enjoyed the gameplay loop. And to have that on Switch 2, they didn't charge $10 for it. The games just run great now. And there are so many other games that
Super Mario Odyssey,
those
Splatoon 3,
yeah,
Link's Awakening, and Echoes of Wisdom. Echoes of Wisdom, and some of these are games that were like on the rough side when they came out.
Right.
And some of them aren't. Like Splatoon 3 always looked great, but like got a significant performance boost on Switch 2. Not at launch, but just like a couple weeks later.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is. It really runs the gamut of like some of the games they fixed.
And it makes the Switch's library so much, or a lot of the games in the Switch's library so much more, like, they have so much more longevity.
Yeah, totally.
Like, they don't necessarily feel like games that came out in 2017.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. And I think that stuff is awesome. We just don't need the plus whatever. That's what ruins it, I think. All right, my next WoW, Mark. 3 words. Donkey Kong Bonanza.
Oh my gosh, also a WoW on my list.
It's and hard for it not to be, right? It is. We talk about this sometimes. Every now and then, Nintendo makes a game where you're like, "Is this one of the greatest games of all time?" They have the ability to do this, and they did it with Donkey Kong. And further, that it is effectively a new type of game. We've not had a Donkey Kong game that plays this way, and it is uniquely future-facing in that regard. You look at the rest of the lineup, and we're talking about Metroid games, we're talking about, or like another Metroid Prime, we're talking about another Pokemon Legends, we're talking about another Mario Kart. They're new entries in very old series. But Donkey Kong Bonanza, like, you can say it's a new entry in the Donkey Kong series, but you'd be lying. Like, it's a new thing. Donkey Kong Bonanza is a new thing.
Yeah, and that's what makes it so exciting, because we had just gotten so used to what a Donkey Kong game was going to be. It was going to be like a 2D side-scroller, basically.
Sure.
A
Donkey Kong Country.
Like a Donkey Kong Country game. And, with Mario, we kind of expect to be wowed every time that they're going to do something different. And so to have it be with Donkey Kong is a lot of fun. And it's exciting to think what the, like, future opportunities for that series could now look like.
Yeah, totally. Yes, absolutely. So are you at this point out of WoWs?
No, I'm not.
Okay, very good. I have 2 more things that I want to talk about
Okay.
WoW-wise. So I'll leave it up to you if you want me to burn one of mine.
Sure, yeah, go for it.
Hey, remember how it was like a little bit stressful to try and land a pre-order for this thing? And we were all like, refreshing on Walmart and Best Buy and Target at the same time. And then like still didn't get it. And, like that there was a lot of drama around that. Switch 2 now, Switch 2 even a couple weeks after launch, even the day of launch, imminently gettable.
Yeah.
Whatever Nintendo did to build up stock worked. And you can just buy a Switch 2 now.
Except in Japan.
Oh, that's
in Japan. They're still really difficult.
I did not know this
to get. Most retailers are still doing lotteries for Switch 2s, and I think it comes down to Nintendo created that special Japan only that the games are like locked down, or the system is locked down, so it'll only play in Japanese. The system is only in Japanese,
right?
And it's at a kind of like reduced price compared to the rest of the world, to kind of fit Japan's current economic situation. And I think it's a really cool thing that Nintendo did. I think, we've talked a lot about price and how the prices are kind of like exorbitant in a lot of situations in the US for Nintendo products right now, specifically. But like, I think it goes to show like Nintendo is still such a home country, such a Japan focused country that they're like, but for the Japanese audience, we really, really value having them like bought in on this. And so we're going to create a special system that will be cheaper and is available to them.
Yeah. Yeah. And that is really fascinating. And like, they've more or less cornered the console market in Japan, right? Like, people buy PlayStations there, but they don't buy Xboxes. It's just like not,
and they buy way fewer PlayStations.
Than
they did previous generations.
I do feel like there is a sort of like Western underestimation of how global PlayStation has become. That it is not really a Japanese brand anymore. Most of their like game development studios, like the first party studios, are in the US or in Europe. And like, their headquarters aren't they're in Europe somewhere, right?
I think that's right. Yeah.
And it's just like, even though Sony is at its heart like a Japanese company, the gaming division of it, PlayStation, is not a Japanese company.
Yeah, like in the way that Nintendo protected Japan with this price-wise with this special Switch 2 like edition just for that country. Sony spent so much effort protecting the US from PlayStation 5 price increases, and just
to the point that they haven't. Oh wait, did they?
They did just recently.
Oh yeah, that's right.
But before that, they were raising them in all other territories except the U.S.
Right.
So they very clearly prized, getting consoles sold in the U.S. in the way that Nintendo is prioritizing Japan, and also, arguably, you could say that Nintendo is doing what they can price-wise with the Switch 2, because they haven't raised the price for the Switch 2 yet. They've raised the price for everything else
in the U.S.
In the U.S.,
right?
They haven't raised the price yet. But yeah, it is crazy. Maybe it must be because they have those like special Japanese Switch 2s that they are making. They must just make way fewer of them, and so that's why.
Yeah, maybe.
Because it's just kind of funny that America's swimming in Switch 2s seemingly, and Japan, they're still very difficult to get.
Yeah. Well, look at that. We ended up talking about price again. All right. Mark, your final wow.
Yeah, my final wow is their, in my mind, aggressive bundling strategy for the Switch 2.
Oh yeah.
You know, like starting with Mario Kart World, and I think that was a surprise to me anyways, that they had this bundle at the beginning. And now we're seeing another one. There will be 2 Switch 2 bundles on shelves this holiday with the Pokemon ZA bundle as well. And like, I think it goes back to what we were talking about, where just like Nintendo wants systems in people's homes and is willing to do things that they traditionally wouldn't have done or didn't do during the Switch era in order to make that happen as fast as possible.
Yeah, and I think that's I think that's good and cool. I wonder how many more bundles we're going. Like, will we see another bundle for the holiday season?
Yeah, I wonder too. Will there be a
Metroid?
Oh, I feel like we would know if there's gonna be
You're
a Metroid
probably
one at
right,
this
yeah.
point. But I wonder if around the Mario movie, like, will we see Galaxy 1 and 2
That's
bundled?
interesting,
Will we
yeah.
see Nintendo, like, Mario Wonder Switch 2 edition bundled or something? Or maybe
Yeah, maybe. But it's hard to say, especially with the Galaxy, because if they bundle Galaxy, then they're bundling a Switch 2 with a Switch 1 game.
Oh yeah, that is weird.
That's weird.
That is weird.
But yeah, I hope to see them continue to like explore that, just because like the entry points are like, we talked about, it's expensive to like get the Switch 2. If it comes with a game and you're not spending another $80 on top of it, like that's.
I mean, Mario Kart and the Pokemon game for the year that they're putting a lot of marketing against, the fact
Right.
that they're bundling those, I think, is pretty crazy.
Yeah. All right, my final wow. And I feel like there are a lot of things that we haven't talked about that are still coming. Like, we don't know if Metroid Prime 4 is going to be a wow or a whiff. Honestly, I feel like it could go either way.
I feel the same.
Metroid could be a 5 out of 10. It could be a 9 out of 10. There's no world where it's a 10 out of 10. But like we genuinely don't know. And then like apply that to all the other games that are Kirby Air Riders, Pokemon Legends, eventually this Fire Emblem game. Like we just don't know. So the last thing that like does wow me is that even though it's not quite the same caliber and not being like published by Nintendo, it is still a platform where indies are exciting, and like some of the best, most exciting games on the platform are these indie games. UFO 50 and Silksong have already come out on this platform. Hades 2 comes out the end of next week. That alone, if that's all that was coming to the Switch this year at all, is like killer stuff. And it's just I think that needs to be heralded a little bit, that like all these games sort of like realize their truest identity on Switch 2 or on Switch in whatever capacity. And it's just cool that they're all there. All right, those are our wows and whiffs. Mark, now that we've talked about it anymore, is there anything else that like your zoomed out perspective has to say about the first 100 days with Switch 2?
No, I don't think so, but I would be really curious to hear other people's wows and whiffs and woes if you have them.
If you have them, but like you have to genuinely have them.
So yeah, hit us up in the Discord, send us an email.
Yep.
This is a conversation I would love to continue.
Yeah, and I think obviously we spent a lot of time talking about the pricing part of it, and that is both real and an illusion at the same time. So I think that's an important thing for us to keep like kind of drilling down into, like, what is because there is an anxiety about that, or like a perception of it being a problem. Is it a problem? Is it not? Let's keep talking about it. All right, Mark, let's close this out. All right, that's going to do it for this episode of Nintendo Cartridge Society. Thank you so much to our 16-bit patrons, Connor McCabe, Patrice Millette, Kyle Seaborn, Drew Mackey, James Haig. We appreciate you. We appreciate everyone who is listening, who is interacting with us in any way. It makes everything more fun. Anthony DeLuca made our logo. Our theme music is provided by 8-Bit Betty. You can get more of his music by going to 8bitbetty.com or by listening right now. From my co-host, Mark Mitchell, this is Patrick Eller saying thank you for listening.